Good morning everyone. Today our lesson is about reproduction. And we are going to focus on the two modes of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction. Are you ready? We are products of billions of years worth of evolution. And we know this much thanks to reproduction. Through reproduction, nature has selected organisms that have a gene pool capable of surviving and thriving. Animals have evolved and adapted to better fit in their environment, and we say thank you to variation. While as humans have goals in life, animals were born to reproduce and die immediately after. So now you ask, why is it important for an animal to reproduce an offspring? This is one of the questions that we need to answer in our lesson for today. And not only that, we need to understand the complexities of reproduction, and it will allow you to appreciate the true importance of why the continuity of a species is important. In this lesson, we need to achieve this learning competency. Describe the different ways of how a representative animals reproduce. We need to attain the following objectives. Number 1, describe the two types of reproduction, asexual and sexual reproduction. Number 2, explain the different methods of reproduction under asexual and sexual reproduction. And number 3, we are going to understand the advantages and disadvantages of asexual and sexual reproduction. And lastly, to appreciate the importance of reproduction. There are two types of reproduction. Number 1 is asexual reproduction, and number 2 is sexual reproduction. We are going to discuss this one by one. We will start with asexual reproduction. What is asexual reproduction? Remember that asexual reproduction involves only one parent. It doesn't need a partner to reproduce. It doesn't need fertilization. So, asexual reproduction, the offspring are an exact copy of the parent, same like a clone. Organisms that reproduce asexually cannot develop much variety because they are copying the original organism exactly. This does not allow for evolution of the species. Each organism is the exact same as its parent. This process takes a relatively short period of time and can produce only up to 1 to hundreds of offspring. There are different methods of asexual reproduction. Number 1 is binary fission. Number 2 is budding. Number 3, fragmentation. Number 4, parthenogenesis. And we have also regeneration.
Amoeba reproduces asexually by binary fission. Binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction in which the fully grown parent cell splits into two halves, producing two new daughter cells. At the time of binary fission, the amoeba pseudopodia becomes spherical in shape. The nucleus splits longitudinally and divides into daughter nuclei. These daughter nuclei move towards opposite poles. This is followed by the elongation of the parent cell. A fissure appears at the middle of the cytoplasm between the two daughter nuclei, dividing the cell into two equal halves. Thus, two daughter amoebae are produced from a single parent. One of them has the original contractile vacuole, while the other develops for a new one. The entire process of binary fission is completed in less than half an hour, but time varies with temperature. Amoeba, Euglena, and Paramecium, which use asexual reproduction, can do simply by dividing into equal halves. When conditions are good, such as plenty of water, food, right temperatures, etc., binary fission is a very effective way of producing many offspring. Hydra is one of the simplest sedentary multicellular freshwater organisms. About 1 centimeter long, it has a tubular body with a basal disc for attachment and a free distal oral or barrel mouth and circulate of tentacles. Hydra reproduces asexually by budding. At the time of asexual reproduction, a small bud appears in body wall. As the bud elongates, the mouth opens at its pre-anterior end, followed by the development of tentacles at the base of the oral region. The newly developed hydra detaches from the parent body and fixes on a substratum. In budding, organism develops from an outgrowth due to cell division at a particular site on parent. Example, sponges, jellyfish, and hydra. Beyond their distinctive shape, sea stars are famous for their ability to regenerate limbs, and in some cases, entire bodies. Some require the central body to be intact to regenerate, but a few species can grow an entirely new sea star just from a portion of a severed limb. In regeneration, it is the ability of a simple organism to regrow its lost parts. Planaria exhibit an extraordinary ability to regenerate lost body parts. A planarian split or cut into fragments will regenerate into a new one. In fragmentation, an organism splits into fragments. Each fragment develops into a mature clone genetically or morphologically identical to its parent. In parthenogenesis, development of an egg into complete individual without fertilization. It was first discovered by Charles Bonnet in 1745. Seen to occur naturally in some invertebrates along with tuberous fish, amphibians, and reptiles, as well as in many plants.
What are the advantages of asexual reproduction? Okay, number one is it uses less energy. It is not necessary to find a partner. And number two, offspring is usually well adapted to its environment because of the success of its parent. What are the disadvantages of asexual reproduction? Number one, the species does not adapt at all or adapts very slowly when circumstances change. Number two, an asexual species runs the risk of suddenly disappearing because of a catastrophe that affects all organisms. Let's focus on sexual reproduction. What does it mean? Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of two cells, one from a male and one from a female. And of course, this is the fusion of the egg and the sperm, and it requires two parents. Offspring are different from the parent organism. This process creates a variety of genetic makeup, which is the driving force behind evolution. Sexual reproduction can be done through external fertilization and internal fertilization. So we will be focusing first with external fertilization. So external fertilization, from the word external, it means outside. So what does external fertilization means? So it is a kind of fertilization that takes place outside the body. The females lay the eggs in the water and the male is squirt the sperm in the same area. So it requires a medium such as water. So what's the purpose of the water? So it is where the sperm can use to swim towards the egg cell, usually occur in fish and some amphibians. In many animals, fertilization takes place outside the body of the female. In these animals, fertilization takes place in water. Let us find out how this happens. During spring or rainy season, frogs and toads move to ponds in slow-flowing streams. When the male and female come together in water, the female lays hundreds of eggs. Unlike hen's egg, frog's egg is not covered by a shell. It is comparatively very delicate. A layer of jelly holds the eggs together and provides protection to the eggs. As the eggs are laid, the male deposits sperms over them. Each sperm swims randomly in water with the help of its long tail. The sperms come in contact with the eggs. This results in fertilization. This type of fertilization, in which the fusion of a male and a female gamete takes place outside the body of the female, is called external fertilization. It is very common in aquatic animals such as fish, starfish, and also in amphibians. How about internal fertilization? Internal fertilization occurs when the fusion of gametes is inside the female body. It usually occurs in mammals, insects, birds, and reptiles. There are three types of internal fertilization. Number one is oviparity, number two is viviparity, and number three is ovoviviparity. Oviparous animals, these are animals that are born from an egg. Example, birds, snakes, insects, and some amphibians like frog. Viviparous animals, these are animals that are born from the mother's womb, like elephants, horses, dolphins, and dogs. Ovoviviparous animals, these are animals wherein the animals develop eggs inside the body of the mothers. Some examples of ovoviviparous animals are seahorses, manta rays, we have turtles, slow worm, and we have the great white shark. And let's have the advantages of sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction increases the genetic variability in organisms of the same species and even within the offspring of one couple. In the long run, it allows the best adaptations to be widespread within a species, especially in changing circumstances. So number one is finding a reproductive partner and producing gametes demands the output of a lot of energy. Not only do you need two gametes for fertilization, one has to be male and the other female. Genetic errors happen more frequently because meiosis is more complex than mitosis, and diploid organisms have more chromosomes to double.
Slug. Banana slugs are known for being the second largest land slug in the world. Like the majority of land slugs, banana slugs are hermaphrodites. This means that they have both male and female reproductive organs, which technically means that they are both genders. However, these gastropods do engage in a strange activity known as apopulation. While mating, the male part can sometimes get stuck. If the stuck slug is not able to release their male part by thrashing around, the two slugs will begin to gnaw it off. Since this part doesn't grow back, the affected slug will continue on in life with only its female part. Earthworm. Earthworms are also hermaphrodites due to the fact that they have both male and female reproductive organs. Even though each earthworm can produce their own sperm and egg, they still need a partner to procreate. They don't change between genders, but they are known to use both of their reproductive organs while copulating.
In sexual reproduction, a male and female gamete is needed in order to produce an offspring. In most instances, there is a male and female organism to produce the gametes, but this is not always the case. Finding a partner for sexual animals can sometimes prove difficult, and so, as an adaptive mechanism and evolutionary solution, some animals exhibit hermaphroditism. This is when an organism has both male and female reproductive system. This is common among sessile stationary animals. In hermaphroditism, the organism may or may not have a partner for fertilization to occur. Unlike an asexual offspring, a sexual offspring is genetically unique from its parent organisms.
Hermaphrodite is an organism that has a complete or partial reproductive organs and produces gametes normally associated with both male and female sexes. Examples are tunicates, earthworms, fulminated snails, slugs, and some fishes. Okay, since we are done with our lesson for today, let's have some sort of evaluation. So this is entitled, am I in or out? So what you're going to do is to write in if the statement given describes internal fertilization and write out if the statement given describes external fertilization. Are you ready? Number 1, egg is fertilized inside the female's body. Number 2, survives best in moist or aquatic environment. Number 3, few offspring are produced. Number 4, will have more chance of surviving even in harsh environment. 5, has a greater number of offspring produced. 6, has 3 types of viviparity, and ovoviviparity. Egg is fertilized outside the female body and with use of a medium, especially water. And let's have case writing. So this is done by partner. Number 1 is, why do you think is asexual reproduction present among animals? Number 2, is it possible for humans to undergo asexual reproduction? And number 3, why is reproduction important for species survival? Number 4, what makes hermaphrodites unique organisms? And number 5, what is the difference between oviparity and ovoviviparity?